Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year. Very proud of that. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 plus years of doing great things in our community, whether it's food insecurity, it's Alzheimer's, it's the arts, you name it, they're heavily involved in it. We are so thrilled to have an august group of people in. Wanted to make sure I could use some different vocabulary for our smart guests on the show over here. Frequent guest, always has great content, a delight. Morgan Appel, Assistant Dean and Instructor for UC San Diego, teacher in community education. Morgan, it's always good when you're on our Spotlight show.
And it's a real pleasure to be here. Grateful to be back in studio with such an erudite and upstanding gentleman. So thank you, Drew.
That's very good. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I appreciate that they're joined by your colleagues, and we were going to call this Morgan and Friends, and they are Steve Lockett, Deputy Director, Economic Development and Prosperity for the County of San Diego. How you doing, Steve?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. How long you been with the county?
Just over 3 years.
3 years? Where were you before?
Before I was on the East Coast. I spent most of my career in North Carolina, but I am very happy to be here in sunny Southern California.
Very, very good. And joined by Eden. Is it Brukman?
That's correct, yes.
Brukman, very good. Chief Sustainability Officer for the County of San Diego, and a cool friend and colleague of Neville Villamoria, Chief Marketing Officer, just got promoted to Mission Fed Credit Union. How you doing, Eden?
I'm swell. Thanks so much for having us here.
I love that term. I'm swell, too. How long have you been in that position?
I'm also similar to Steve, about 3 years at the county, but 3 decades working on climate justice and sustainability work.
In San Diego?
No, abroad. I was born and raised here in San Diego,
Okay.
and then spent my professional career all over the place, Pacific Northwest, overseas, Bay Area, and now back here.
I'm going to get you involved with a group that I just got put in touch with by a gentleman that Morgan might know, maybe both of you will too, Steve Bernstein. He's a senior VP at Bank of California, and introduced me to Groundwork, Earth Lab, and they're involved. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they're definitely in your wheelhouse, Eden. So they've asked me to, bring in some bright people. So obviously, if you're interested, I'll share that information.
Always interested in making connections with like-minded individuals.
100%.
Thank you.
Morgan, why don't you just kick us off and talk about why we're here?
Well, the reason that we are here is that I had occasion to spend a good part of the day not too long ago with Eden and Stephen talking about the new green economy. And it was a day that not only changed my perspective and reaffirmed some things that I thought, but there was a real palpable sense of enthusiasm and want of synergy building in that room. And I think that's something, again, and we've talked about this, Drew, that is almost unique to our Megaregion, where we all come together and look toward weaving a beautiful tapestry made up of many threads. And the level of excitement that I had upon exiting, the level of energy, at this age, I'm lucky to have any at all, but really wanted to press forward with that and talk about that, and, to be able to let everybody know about the great work that's going on at the county and what we're doing in educational circles.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative of that. Morgan, and obviously as you and Eden and Steve know, Morgan has always got his pulse on something. And something obviously that's very good for our community. And I'm not doing this to patronize Morgan. That's how we feel about when he's on the show.
Go on.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
Morgan wanted me to have this as a 3-hour absolute honor to him. Build some gold statue or something like that. No, just teasing, of course. And I'll start with you on this, Steve. The business of green is, no pun intended, pretty green, correct?
Yeah, it's really an industry that's growing, and it's fascinating to be here in Southern California. It really is a region where we're working together across different groups, different communities, and it's really fascinating to see when we do come together. And the green economy is really growing and actually impacts more different parts of the economy than you would think.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, and Eden, you can weigh in on this, of course, but Steve, we always love to have environmental groups, on our Spotlight on the Community show. I've been doing this for 20 years, and whether it's the estuaries down south or whether it's the San Diego River, the Conservancy up there, or you name it, we are a very unique ecological, region. Again, to the congregation in this aspect of it. But the reason why we like to highlight that so much is if we lose it, we're not getting it back, okay, in this area. So maybe, Eden, you can just talk about how critical this is to the green economy to make sure we actually preserve and take care of this wonderful region we're in.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, we are the most biodiverse in the lower 48 of any county. So we have a lot of opportunities to not only witness and enjoy nature, but also learn from nature. And we are nature. As humans, we are part of that ecosystem, of the natural ecosystem, even though we think of ourselves as separate from. And so when we're talking about preserving, we're not only talking about preserving the estuaries and the wildlands and the mountainous areas, but we're also talking about our own communities, the human habitat that we create, and the actual fabric of community that only exists if we actually stop to think and care about it. And so everything that we're doing, whether it is through the lens of economic prosperity or jobs, is another way of also preserving our environment.
And that gets to what all three of you are so laser beamed on is heaven forbid in communication. Obviously, it's certainly what Morgan's been doing for his whole career in this, and both you, Steve, and Eden as well. And and of course, I'm a former journalist, and a billion years ago, even though I was on the sports side, some people wouldn't consider that a journalist, but I do. But Morgan, bringing Steve, and Eden together just to communicate this. The key being getting all sectors of our region involved. Talk about that.
No, absolutely, and I think there is a sort of common mythology when we talk about the green economy. We're really talking about fixed roles, and we're talking about narrow focused. How do we train our progeny for the green jobs of tomorrow? But what we are finding empirically is that all jobs in the future are going to be green. So to quote a New Order song, and hopefully not to date myself, but everything has gone green. So when we think about this, we're not really preparing students for a particular job, but to work in a labor market that is undergoing significant ecological transformation. And to do so means that we have to bring everybody together to do that, to help our students develop adaptable, transferable, and transportable capabilities and build capacity for a greener economy rather than saying we're going to prepare you to do X job that may not exist in the future. So,
and if I may, I'd like to add on to that.
Please.
When we talk about green jobs, a lot of people might be, well, what is that? What is a green job? And it's not just a one thing, but it's actually, as Morgan said, it's all jobs. And as we're moving forward, as technology evolves, as we become more cognizant of how we need to do better via the environment, via the economy, all jobs will be green in some regard. Current jobs, everything you have now will have a component of environmental sustainability and that kind of outlook. So it's not that green jobs are a new thing that are coming up, but they are jobs that are now.
Yeah, and based on what Steve and Maureen just said, Eden, and we know we can do this if we actually put our minds to it. What a shock, right? It's a mindset. It's a cultural shift in thinking that, no, you need to think of this. This should be coming out of you first. That shouldn't be, is it green? No, it's what we do. I think, listen, people still smoke. We get it. But they're smoking knowing that it's going to damage their lungs. Okay, right. We know that it's probably not good to put oil down drainage systems. All right, you want to do it, you're an idiot. But, how do we get people to say, this is a whole shift? I don't care what field you are in. You're in construction, you're a journalist, you're a teacher, you work in the government, that everything should focus on that. How do we get people to think about this, besides letting our students know it, even at TK, even before they're even born, actually?
Absolutely. Well, as you've mentioned, green is an adjective that we took on as a movement that really, in some ways, I've regretted, in that we could have prescribed a very different verb to the work or adjective to the work that's being done by folks who are not being mindful. I am an architect by training. It was one of my vocations in my previous life, and we talk about protecting the health, welfare, and safety of the public. And really, isn't that everyone's work to do in some way, whether you're educating, you're protecting health, welfare, and safety. If you're thinking about farming, then also from the lens of what kind of food are we putting on the table. And then from something more direct that we automatically prescribe to kind of a green lens, which might be renewable energy instead of something that's fossil fuel based. But all of them have the opportunity there. And in many ways, if we're doing it in a holistic manner, we are taking that broader view of what does it mean to protect health, welfare, and safety. We are understanding that we have not only responsibility on some of the outcomes, but the accountability for it as well.
Well, and I think, a part of all this, we're just thrilled to be chatting with Morgan Appel, Assistant Dean and Instructor, UC San Diego teacher in community education, joined by his colleagues, Steve Lockett, Deputy Director, Economic Development and Prosperity for the County of San Diego, and Eden Brukman, Chief Sustainability Officer for the county. In all of this, and getting people to, this should be natural. You shouldn't be thinking about this. It's those great golfers. They don't sit there and think about the swing. It's just a mechanism that's tied to what they've been doing, on this. And I think, with you folks on this, and I want to start with Steve on this, and then jump in Morgan and Eden as well. The county, obviously, big footprint, to say the least, in this. How are you working with businesses? How are you supporting businesses to get this mindset, going?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the things that I find really wonderful about working for the county is working with Eden, working with other departments, that we see this as a cross-departmental activity. That one of the things I've learned over my time here at the county is how we can be that conduit for a lot of information to business communities and also nonprofit communities, groups like that. We do a lot of outreach, whether through my department, whether through Eden's, whether through our Office of Equity and Racial Justice or others. We really try to engage the business community on multiple levels, small businesses, large businesses, and those groups that help businesses as well. So chambers, local economic development groups. We really view ourselves in my role, in my office, as like a conduit between the county and the business community, and kind of that we facilitate that interchange of information. And so with working on projects with Eden, like on this green economy, we're out there, we're educating, we're sharing information, but we're also learning. And we're bringing that information back into the county to let our elected officials know what we're learning from the business community.
We come back from break. I want to hit on the chamber aspect of it. Chris Cates is now going to be a regular guest on our Spotlight show. Mark Cafferty, EDC, all the folks you know very well in this aspect of it. The universities, thanks to Morgan. We just had Adela on talking about the innovation zone they're doing out in San Diego West, SDSU West and all that. So we will chat about that when we return after this very short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, The unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Just so pleased to have in the studio with us today some of the great brain trust in San Diego, focusing on sustainability, education. Green is not just a movement. Green should be absolutely embedded within all of us, DNA-wise and all that business. Morgan Appel, Assistant Dean and Instructor for UC San Diego, teacher in community education. Steve Lockett, Deputy Director of Economic Development and Prosperity, and Eden Brukman, Chief Sustainability Officer for the County of San Diego. Morgan, as Steve brought up, it's working with all these sectors, and of course, you are in sort of touch base with almost every single one of these things, with the chambers or with the folks in the nonprofits and all that, with your longtime work in UCSD Extension and now what you're doing now. Perfect transition for us to sit there and really get this right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we're finding is that you're not going to see a solution in a single course. You're not going to see 10 hacks to a greener economy. This, like, working with metacognitive skills, what we call 21st century essential skills, what they used to call soft skills, which were anything but.
Correct.
This work is developmental in nature and certainly includes sort of embedded educational work with system thinking, adaptive problem solving, data literacy, environmental literacy, and collaboration. So they are skills that are just as much essential as the 21st century essential skills, and really blend very well with the metacognitive skills. But again, these are developmental. So in our work, whether it's through the Sally Ride Science Academy or the Boz Institute collaboration, which you well know, it's really about going in early, generating enthusiasm, providing a sense of confidence, competence, and identity, where you can have a second grader say, I'm a citizen scientist, or I can make an impact on the quality of life in my community. And then gradually helping to hone more finely, providing disciplinary support. But this idea is that this is not a single course. This is intersegmental and interdisciplinary work. And it's not work that the university or community college or a trade school or a K-12 system can undertake on its own. And what the county does so wonderfully, it convenes us together to really talk about our lived experiences, how we can work together collaboratively, rather than saying, here's the things that you need for a green economy, and we would expect that you would do this, you would do that, you would do this. So that partnership is very important to us.
Well, and the county is a perfect place for this, to say the least, because of the footprints and the tentacles you folks have. Eden, listen, what I love about having always Morgan on, and now, with Steve and you, empirical evidence is important. Data is important. Heaven forbid, we do these things. It oozes out of all three of you. I can tell you that right now. And this stuff is based on great research and empirical evidence. When we do these things, good things happen. Businesses thrive. The economy, the environment is maybe saved is too dramatic in that aspect. But talk about the empirical nature of what you folks are doing.
Sure, and there is a lot of scientific basis for this work. Absolutely, we understand that how we show up every day has an impact on our environment, on our ability to succeed. And ultimately, going back to the quote-unquote soft skills that Morgan mentioned, this relies too on that balance of understanding the science, but really changing our mindset. At the end of the day, it's behavior change that makes the difference. I can't follow every single person outside of every single room, that they enter or leave, and make sure that they turn off the light, for example, right? That's got to be something that we own. It goes back to that notion that I am accountable for my own actions and I understand the repercussions. And so when we approach, a lot of folks think of the county, they think, policy, potentially more mandates and things like that. And a lot of what we do is actually not mandates. It is about coming together. It's about asking questions, about learning, but it's also about kind of exposing those otherwise hidden trade-offs that you wouldn't understand or know, but now that you know, you can't unknow. For example, we recently created a policy internally for our own organization, about 20,000 people strong, and it's environmentally preferable procurement. How do we buy the products and procure the services from small businesses, from businesses in our region, and from manufacturers here and elsewhere that align with our values? Well, we could have said, these things are banned. But instead, we said, these things are preferred, and we're going to tell you why. Because once you know that if you're buying that, you're supporting a raw material that's carcinogenic, well, do you want to introduce that into your life and your space? Maybe not. And so we really weigh the carrot with the stick and hopefully spend more time in that place of curiosity, of questioning, of learning, and understanding that while the empirical evidence is critical, the learned experience is necessary. The lived experience, the difference, the fact that each of us has a truly unique view from how we came into this world and every choice we've made since, and every choice that's been made for us, quite frankly, in a lot of occasions, has shaped what we understand and the needs for change or the need for continuation in different actions.
And what all comes down to it, and I know, Morgan, he's been on the show with his colleague Ed, we talk about it all the time, and it's no different. As humans, we all want the same thing. We want to be safe. We want our kids to be healthy. We want to get along with people, even though we're going to have diverse opinions on whatever the case may be in this area. And that's what it's all about. And Steve, if you can address the thing, Morgan has heard me say this probably to ad nauseum in this. It makes me just go crazy. When you talk about the business, let's bring up nonprofits that you talked about. Nonprofits contribute a ton to our economy on this aspect of it. Talk about how important that is, especially for what we're chatting about now.
Sure. Yeah, they really do. I think a lot of people overlook the fact of how important nonprofits are to our local economy, both in terms of those who do the work for the nonprofits, but the work they do. A lot of times they're not seen, they're not as visible, they don't make the noise as maybe some businesses do, but they really impact a lot of people. The county works with nonprofits through a variety of ways, through multiple departments. And one of the things we've tried to do is work to really include nonprofits in how the county views small business. And so that's been a major driver of our office for the last year. And so it's going to be these nonprofits that are going to help us demystify and destigmatize the green economy to the local community.
There's no question about that. I'm going to start with you on this, Morgan, and Eden, you add to it as well as Steve. No surprise, Cloudcast Media and our Spotlight show laser beamed on the huge footprint the military has in our region. We do a show called Mission San Diego Military. The annual military economic impact report shows that the military contributes $39 billion of direct spending in our region, and about close to $70 billion in indirect, of course. And with that, no one even is a close second. Tourism and entertainment are not even close to second on this. But Morgan, talk about when we talk to our military folks, they are laser beamed on sustainability. Eden's nodding her head on this thing, and preserving what they do. How do they tie into this?
Well, I think they are a fundamental part. They are a catalyst and a lever. So when we are talking about this work, we have to think in terms of equity and access, whether that means underrepresented students, whether it means bringing the military into this discussion. I mean, San Diego, in a very real way, is still, an old Navy town. And this is not to discount the presence of the Marines or the Coast Guard, but this is to say that they are not only a fundamental part of our economy, but the fundamental part of our future. And coming from the Bay Area and seeing some of places like Alameda Island, bases that have closed, the military has a wonderful opportunity and occasion to step up in terms of environmental sustainability, so we don't have another Hunter's Point. And I think that all facets of the military really do have a good understanding of their role in doing this. I mean, you can just drive by Camp Pendleton and you can see evidence from the outside as you go past. Preservation is such an important part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Eden?
Sure. Well, the military has a long history of being leaders in R&D as well, the research and development, the innovation in industry, us understanding the opportunities for renewable energy. We can think of it from an environmental perspective. We can think of it from a domestic security perspective. We can think of it from a resilience perspective. But all of those roads lead to some really great solutions. And in addition, the military has such a diverse range of skills. There's every job possible in the military. So folks are being not only trained for that, but also have the ability then to have fantastic transitions into the private sector because of the work ethic, because of the training, and the military knows how to train people as well. So just the ability to learn from that process of how do we help folks have that access to learn new skills in a way that is efficient and effective and long-standing and gives them an opportunity for that next rung up in their profession, whatever it might be. The military has been a star example of how that works.
Yeah, and I'm going to add in that the academics as well, and of course the government, without question in this area. You're speaking of something that's near and dear to my heart, Eden, as Morgan experienced at our Career and Pathways Summit. Whether you want to go into this field or not, the skill sets, the learning, the behavior, the everything in it is going to transition everywhere else. I'm going to start with you on this, Steve. We're just getting started. This topic is way too important just to do one podcast. So I'm going to ask all three of you to come many, many times on the show to continue to chat about this, to bring in other folks. Because as you know, in communication, you got to say it once, you got to say it twice, you got to say it 4 billion times. I'll start with you on it, Steve. What can our listeners do to support the efforts that you folks are doing?
That's a great question.
You got 3 hours.
Good. Yeah, I can expound on that. I think it's keep an open mind. I think there's a lot of ways that people look at the green economy. They look at the county. They see us as kind of like big bureaucratic, that we're not going to get things done. But it's not really true. We do a lot of things that really do positively impact the community in a much quicker time than you would think. And get engaged with your community. Get engaged with your community partners that are doing this and ask questions. Reach out to our department. We are happy to answer questions. We are not, we're here to help the people. Our goal in economic prosperity is uplifting all San Diegans. And so feel free to reach out.
I think that's great. How did they get a hold of you?
Just go to the county's website, or perhaps I can share my contact info with you later. Okay,
very, very good. County of San Diego, you'll be able to find Steve Lockett's department. It's the Economic Development and Prosperity on this. Morgan, what can we do?
Well, beyond erecting a statue in my name, that's a condition of return, of course.
It'll be at the front door of Mission Fed's headquarters, I guarantee it.
Appreciate that. I think it's all about a sort of sea change in the way that we see things. And if we get this right, we're not just preparing our progeny for jobs. We're preparing them to shape the future of work in a world that urgently needs that. This work is around the green economy, but it also really impacts education in a number of ways, going from static knowledge to dynamic learning, from disciplinary silos to interdisciplinary work, and going from the individual to the collective. And I think, if nothing else, parents need to get involved, community members need to get involved. It's a push by all of us.
Exactly. Eden?
So we have, through our Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice, we host a series called Community Climate Conversations, where we bring folks together through our community-based organizations, that trusted bridge to our community, to really learn what is ready, what can be optimized and done today based on priorities, based on momentum, based on assets on the ground. And those meetings lead to funded projects that are led and implemented directly by the community. So we, again, as the bridge or as the convener, help those happen. And those are coming up soon. Check the county's Engage page for more details. Also, we have dozens, maybe more, initiatives that are ongoing at any time. If you cannot make a public meeting, if you cannot attend a webinar, our Engage page is a place where you can post questions, learn the latest, review documents, offer comments, take surveys, and share your ideas about what matters to you most, so that the outcomes are a reflection of your views, your priorities, and what you need.
I think that's great. So I'm going to ask you folks again, please come back. I'd love to set up something on a consistent basis. You can think about, all three of you, what strategies, what topics you want to talk about next, and let's build upon it. And you want to bring in other folks to chat as well. We're very much laser beamed with the 43 school districts, the Classroom of the Future, as Morgan knows, and some of them are involved in it. One of the brilliant guys that's involved with us, former board chair, he actually presented at the summit, as did Charles Parisi, the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media. Tim Baird, head of the Green Schools nationwide, this would love this stuff, and not as a movement, but as a big shift and everyone thinking about it. So I hope you will take me up on that offer. This is a very important topic for 17 billion different reasons, and if you say yes, then I'll be hounding you guys through Morgan on that.
It'd be our honor.
Absolutely.
Hound away.
Okay, we're going to be hounding away over here. Morgan Appel, it's always good to see you. Assistant Dean and Instructor for UC San Diego, teacher in community education. Steve, nice meeting you. Steve Lockett, Deputy Director of Economic Development and Prosperity, and Eden Brukman, Chief Sustainability Officer, County of San Diego. And to our listeners, this will not be the last time you'll hear these three folks talk about this great shift we need to make, and we'll continue this conversation down the road. To our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.